Alright folks, welcome back. This is Ghosts video 2. In this video we're going to actually make the Ghosts class. So we're going to make an object that is a ghost that we can repeat a whole bunch of times so we can have as many ghosts as we'd like. And these ghosts are going to chase our character around the screen, and if you remember, here's where we left off. We have a pretty boring game. We have a box that we can scoot around with the arrow keys. So I'm pressing the left arrow key, the down arrow key. Not that exciting. I think first things first, let's speed things up. And I think we're going to create a variable for speed. And let's just have it be an integer just for giggles. Why would I choose integer? Well, because pixels, I don't know, it's kind of this weird world where you can move by half a pixel or not, and if things are being anti-aliased and smoothed out, you can kind of get these half pixels and whatnot. But let's have the speed be an integer just for the sake of creating a variable, and let's have it be 4. So our speed is 4, and down here when we move, you can see here in the special key pressed function, notice that this function is its own function, it's not inside of any other method like draw. Let's take away all of these 0.5s and just use speed. Why is this a good idea? Well, now we can mess with the speed of the character and not have to edit it in 4 different places. We have control of the variable speed right here, and we could have control of it anywhere else. In fact, we're going to eventually have the ghost slow down the character. So we can't have hard-coded in numbers here for these speeds. Otherwise, we have to go in and somehow change those every time. That would be super annoying. So let's just make sure our code works here. Our guy should be able to move pretty quick now. All right, yep, he zooms across the screen. Isn't that just, very, very amazing? So let's create a ghost that's going to track down our guy. And this is going to be a special ghost class. So we're going to make it up. So I'm going to create a ghost class. And I'm going to make that variable. Let's give that variable, that guy a name. Let's call it Casper. And it's going to be a new ghost. Now, if you've watched the Pong video, you know that we have to go and create this and this. We need a ghost to do something, and that's an object. An object is a model of a real idea that you're going to make. Processing already did this for you. The idea of an integer is a mathematical idea that someone else coded the class for, and you just get to use it because everyone pretty much agrees on what an integer does. Well, a ghost is something you're going to totally make up. So we're going to come down here after all of our code. So last curly bracket here, this is the end of the key pressed function. We're going to start a whole new block of code called class ghost. And the difference between a class and a function is that it doesn't have any parentheses. No. It's its own definition of things. And how to make a class, you specify the variables, which are often called fields, that describe your class or your objects. You give at least one constructor, and then give the methods or functions, they're the same thing, for what that object should be able to do. So that's the steps of creating an object, very, very simply. So what are we going to do? Well, a ghost is just going to be a little circle that bops around the screen looking to kill you. And if it catches you, you die, let's say, or slows you down or something. So what are we going to need to know? We're going to need to know where it is. So let's create a float called x and a float called y. So within this class, each instance of a ghost, each ghost is going to have its own specific x and y. What else should the ghost be able to do? I don't know. I guess they just have a position. They just float around the screen. So let's create a constructor. And that constructor has the exact same name as the class. Okay, so it has to have the same name as the class, and it doesn't get a void or a float or an int or anything here because it doesn't return anything. It actually, up in the code, it returns a ghost. So we already know what it's going to do. Constructors are a very special kind of function. And what we do with a constructor is build our new object. So what should we do? Well, let's set x and y. Well, x is, has some random position for this ghost. So to start the game off fun. So randomly between 0 and width, and y is going to be random from 0 to height. So we've initialized our ghost, we've constructed him, and now we need to be able to do things. So what can Casper do? Well, Casper can chase the character. So we're going to create a method called chase. This method isn't going to return anything. It's just going to move the guy around. So the method is called chase. You could have called it whatever you wanted. I like chase. It fits what we're going to do here. And so this becomes a method of one of the ghosts. So when the ghosts do stuff, they can do chase. So this doesn't do anything yet. Will chase after the player. But up here in our code, what we're going to do is add to the draw function, we're going to draw our ghost. And we called our ghost Casper. So the object's name is Casper. Okay, this new ghost object, he's specifically Casper. And what do we want him to do every time the screen is drawn? We want him to chase. So this is the actual piece of code that makes this happen. This is a method call. Okay, we're actually getting Casper to do something. We created him. He has the ability to chase because he's a ghost. And now we're actually having him do the chasing. Well, this of course won't do anything because we haven't actually drawn an ellipse or put anything on the screen. So let's chase after the character. First things first, I suppose, let's put Casper on the screen. Let's have him be an ellipse at position XY. Remember, this XY is referencing this XY in this class. And how big is he going to be? I don't know, he's 15 by 15. It's not very big. We'll make this kind of a big game, like a giant map game. And so if we run our code, this will work. We're going to get a ghost on the screen. And there he is, up at the very tip top of the screen. Okay, doing his thing. In fact, you can see he's stuck at 0, 0. Now, okay, it really could be that he actually randomly showed up at 0, 0, but probably not. In fact, if we do it again, there's no way he should be there again, but I'm willing to bet that he will be. Yep. So that's another problem with this width and height issue. We're creating Casper. We're running this ghost constructor before the screen is actually set up. So we're going to have to figure out a better way to do that. And we're not going to deal with that right now. We're just going to sort of set him up randomly. How big is our screen? 900 by 600. So we're just going to put the numbers in here this time. This is bad form because now we have to change a bunch of things if we ever change the game. But at least the randomization of the position of the ghost will work. We're more interested in getting him to chase us. So now if I move it on the screen, Casper doesn't do anything. That's not very scary or fun. So let's get chase to actually work. Okay, well, what does he need to do? He needs to figure out how far away he is from me. So Casper has to figure out how far away he is and move to get closer. Okay, and the way we're going to do that is find the farthest distance, okay, whether it be the X direction or Y direction, and move that way. Okay, so we're going to calculate a floating point number called difference X. And this is going to be the difference between the position of Casper and the position of our character. And we check to see, yep, we called it X position. So that's the difference. And there's a problem here, though. This number could be negative. So we're actually going to put absolute values around this to make it positive. And we're going to calculate another variable here, float diff y, and it's going to be exactly the same, except it's going to be y minus y position. And now we have a measurement. We have a measurement to see where Casper should be moving. Okay, and that's what we need to figure out. So now we need to run some if statements and say, well, if he's further away in the x direction, move him towards Casper. If he's further away in the y direction, move him towards Casper down the screen. We need to figure that out. And actually, maybe these absolute values were a bad idea because we lose information there, and we want to know whether Casper is above or below the player. So let's roll that out. So let's see. If difference x, let's test it here. If difference x is greater than or equal to the absolute value of difference y. Okay, well, what are we checking here? Well, I'm checking to see which one is bigger, because we're going to move in one of those directions. And this is the if statement. So if Casper is further away, farther, away, left, right. Okay, that means if this difference is bigger than this difference, then we're going to move him towards the player. So then we can say, well, which way? Well, we got to figure it out. Well, if difference x is greater than 0, we'll say greater than or equal to, just in case it's actually 0. So if difference x is greater than or equal to 0, let's see, that would mean that this was bigger than this, which means that Casper is to the right. Okay, so this is Casper is to the right of the player. We're going to change x. We're going to say x minus equals. So I'm going to move him back. What's the speed of Casper? I don't know. Is he just as fast as the player? Maybe. So minus equals 3. Let's make it, let's up the ante here. He's almost as fast as the player. We'll minus off 3.5 here. And now we can just repeat that code here. So go ahead, copy, paste. Casper is to the left of the player. Well, that's if this difference is less than 0. Okay, so if it's less than 0, that means that x was little, which means he's over there. So we'll change this to a plus. We can copy all of this code. Well, we'll copy it again. We'll put it down here and make an else here for the whole thing. So this else goes with this if. Now this is if difference y. And we're going to pretty much do the exact same thing. Whoops, that's too much code to highlight. Oh, geez. We're getting crazy here. That didn't work. Sorry. Hope you didn't barf there. Copy, paste. So if Casper is above the player, that doesn't make any sense. Is above the player, or if Casper is below. Well, what's above going to be? That means that his variable is smaller. So this is going to be less than 0. And we'll change this to a y. And we'll change this. We'll change that. And we'll talk about y. If this is greater than or equal to 0, then we're going to add it. No, I think we got to flip these around. So if he's above the player, we want him to move down the screen. And if he is below the player, we want him to move back up the screen. Okay, and then we should be able to draw it here. See how this plays out. So let's hope Casper attacks me, and in fact he does. Oh geez. And you can see here that he gets stuck on me because as soon as I move off of him, he tries to get away. Wow, that's actually kind of terrifying. He's really fast. So let's try it again and see if I can get away. Run. Well, at least Casper attacks me. Alright, next video we'll make some more Caspers, and we'll get him to honor my direction and things like that.